Welcome to the Prof G Pod's Office Hours. This is the part of the show where we answer your questions about business, big tech, entrepreneurship, and whatever else is on your mind. If you'd like to submit a question, please email a voice recording to officehours@profgmedia.com. Again, that's officehours@profgmedia.com. First question.
Hey, Prof G. It's Anthony from Pittsburgh, PA. I'm currently 6 years into a career in human resources with experience in both public and private sector. From your perspective, what impacts will AI and automation have on human resources, particularly with employee relations?
I think it's going to have a huge impact. AI is crawling all existing data, which means that AI wants to take the arc of history and move it forward on the same arc. And there's been tremendous bias in the workplace, so that bias is reflected. What is being done about this? Legislation. In an effort to root out potential bias in hiring and promotion software, New York City became the first city in the country to regulate the use of automation and AI in hiring decisions with NYC 144. Still, this law has been described as a public disclosure law, not an anti-bias law. Under the new law, companies will need to review any software that plays a major role in hiring or promotions and publish adverse impact ratios, as in data showing whether the software affects certain races or genders more than others. I don't see how you can enforce that. But anyways, employers are also required to post these impact ratios on their websites, including the notice that they're using the tools and an option for job seekers to request an alternative to being screened by the software. If businesses don't follow these rules, they could pay fines of up to $1,500 per day for each violation. Yeah, that means fucking nothing. Big tech is like, fine, we'll do it at whatever we want. Send us a bill. I don't know if this legislation is going to work. It seems to me to be pretty easy to cover your ass saying, yeah, we use technology, but it didn't impact our hiring. I used a form of organic intelligence around hiring in my last firm, L2. We did a ranking of all the people who was really adding the most value. And we took the top 10 that were really the culture carriers, working really hard, great with clients, could trust anything they did. And what we found, or the commonalities through all of them, was three things. One, they went to world-class universities. You don't like to think that. The current narrative out there is it doesn't matter. Go anywhere you want. It doesn't matter what school you go to. Yeah, it does, because effectively the primary value out of the elite universities is their admissions department, because they get so many applications. They can select these freakishly remarkable people and the children of rich kids. But when you get someone out of UVA, when you get someone out of Georgia Tech, they generally just have their shit together and they're very good. That was number one. Number two, they were athletes. Yeah. Learning how to lose, learning a certain level of grit, learning how to play with others, discipline. Our best employees had a background in sports. And then finally, this is the interesting one, they were women. It wasn't you had to have all three. We generally tried to have two of the three. You know, some people don't play sports. That's fine. Some people didn't go to an elite university. That's fine. But generally speaking, we found the best employees had checked all three of those boxes. Isn't that interesting? Anyways, I think AI should be incorporated into HR. AI is coming for everything. Be the ninja warrior in AI who has the ultimate weapon, and that is a really facile, deep understanding of AI. Thanks for the question. Question number two.
Hey, Scott. I'm a 31-year-old college dropout who's been fortunate enough to build a career for themselves in tech. I taught myself programming and eventually found my way into product management. By the age of 28, I was earning about $200,000 a year. And then in 2023, all of that got flipped on its head, and I, along with about 250,000 tech employees, found myself looking for a new role. And so my question to you is this. If you were a young Scott Galloway today entering the job market, what would your approach look like? How would you approach it differently than you did when you were starting your career today? And lastly, asking for a friend, what advice do you have for a 31-year-old college dropout who is struggling to write the next chapter in their adult working life?
So the first one is forgive yourself. You've recognized a lot of success, you've made a lot of money, and now you're not, and you're facing your sort of first, what I call professional crisis. The only thing I can guarantee anybody is that they're going to face a crisis like this. Keep in mind, everyone you talk to, regardless of the bullshit narrative of how amazing they are and amazing their life has been where you are right now. So the first is forgive yourself. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to put together a kitchen cabinet of people. We're going to reach out and ask for help and say, hey, I'm looking for a job. I'd love some advice. If they obviously have contacts or can keep their ears open, great. But more than that, say to them, I would just like someone to check in with and make sure I'm doing the right things. Third, we're going to do 3 or 4 things every day. We're going to stay fit. We're going to use that for mental fitness, whether that's running, whether that's yoga, whether that's meditation, whether that's lifting weights. But you're going to keep sort of your mental wellness shit together, right? You obviously understand technology. You understand how to do projects, whether it's trying to lean into AI, whatever it might be. Also, we're going to take advantage of what our strengths are. One of your strengths, it sounds like to me, because you're so young, is you probably don't have dogs or kids. So you want to be open to moving elsewhere. And that is, if you were living in a blue state that was expensive, making, I think you said 200 grand a year, you might be able to take a job making 120 grand a year in St. Louis or Atlanta or Nashville because the cost of living is so much lower. But lean into the fact that you might be mobile, if you will. Go on every interview. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. What you don't want to do is be out of the job market a year, passing up opportunities because they weren't exactly the right thing. But I would put together a kitchen cabinet of people every day, 3 or 4 emails to strangers or people you have some sort of contact with or who you used to work with. Write down a list of everyone you worked with, you had a relationship with, track them down, tell them your situation, and see if they have any job openings. Hit job boards, start sending out resumes, be aggressive. It's a bit of a numbers game, right? But let me circle back to where I started. Forgive yourself. You're going through what everyone has gone through. In terms of specific industries, it's hard to predict. My current thinking right now is the industry that's most ripe for disruption is healthcare at the hands of AI. It has grown costs faster than inflation for 40 years with no underlying innovation. We're actually living less longer. I mean, if you're rich, this is the best city in the world or best country in the world for healthcare. The bottom 90, it's not. And I think AI is going to do incredible things there. So maybe think about taking a lower salary and going into a startup in a place like healthcare. But look, you have technical skills, you understand technology, you have real skills. I can hear in your voice that you are articulate, you sound confident. And again, recognize you are exactly where the most successful people in the world have been several times. Appreciate the question. We have one quick break before our final question. Stay with us. Welcome back. Question number 3.
Hey, Scott, I'm going to comment on your favorite subject, you. As a father of a 12-year-old daughter and a 16-year-old son, I'm working through exactly what it means for me to be a dad during those years. And while they're tremendous kids, as a dad, I can't help but feel as though I'm missing something due to the fact that my relationship is not two-way. Or as you said, I'm really struggling with this debtor relationship as they become themselves. How do I learn to accept my role as a debtor in this relationship and find new ways to enrich my relationship with my children? Thanks, Colin in Canada.
Hey, Colin in Canada. So I hear you, said every dad anywhere. I grew up thinking that can't wait till my kids watch World War II history documentaries with me and come with me to CrossFit because they're going to find me so impressive and want to be like me that they're going to just be naturally really into anything I'm into. I've been thinking a lot about the notion of masculinity and the rite of passage when a boy becomes a man. And I love what Richard Reeves, the president of the American Institute for Boys and Men, says. He uses this concept of surplus value. And I've actually sat my boys down and explained this concept. And I said, okay, right now, there's all these people at your school trying to help you damage the muscle in between your ears such that it grows back stronger. You're not doing a lot for them. Your parents are paying them some money, but you're not adding a lot of value there. You are in a society that, for the most part, really values children. We're living in London right now, and they spend a lot of money such that you can have the tube to go to school. They spend money on building malls so you can go play mini golf or whatever it is, and you're not adding a lot of value back. You're not making any money. You're not paying any taxes. We love you immensely. We think about you all the goddamn time. We're constantly thinking about the lunch and filling out the forms so you can go on field trips. We're constantly thinking about ensuring that you have the right pillows because one of my kids is allergic. We're just constantly working on you, and you are not constantly working and thinking about us. It's negative value. How you become a man is you start adding more and more value, and when you become a man is when you flip to the credit side. Is that right? You add surplus value. And that is you start doing more for other people. And I do little things called what a man does. And that is I say, okay, when visitors show up, a man immediately jumps to his feet, goes and gets their luggage and puts it in their room. A man pours, as soon as new water comes to the table, a man looks around and pours water in empty glasses. A man, when he's with women, pays for everything. If that sounds sexist, it is. I don't care. I still think men should pay for women in almost any context. And at some point, I say, you're going to start adding surplus value, hopefully. Some men never do. Some men raised in environments where they're coddled, they never get to a point of adding more value than they're taking from the government, from their friends, from their family. And I think part of being a man, quite frankly, or part of being a father is to be blunt. We get less than we give. And there's a certain reward in that. We take blows. I try so hard with my kids. I call my kids every night at the same time. You'd think they'd start to figure it out. I FaceTime them. I try to do these workouts with my oldest. I try to check in on my son and see what's going on with him. And on a regular basis, my son doesn't pick up. And I don't hear from him, even though he knows I'm calling him at 9 p.m. My youngest sometimes, when he picks up the phone, literally picks up the phone like this. What? Well, I was just calling to check in. Oh, okay. And he's doing something else, checking out his hair in the reflection or I can tell he's on some sort of app or something. I think at the end of the day, the best advice I can give any father is just time. And that is, I hate the notion of quality time. I think that was invented by men who don't spend a lot of time with their kids to feel better about themselves. There's no such thing. The thing about those key moments when you kind of connect with your kids is that you're in the car taking them to school and they just sort of tell you something about someone they like, or they ask you a question. That's kind of the garbage time, or Ryan Holiday from the Daily Stoic taught me this term, garbage time. Try and find as much garbage time with your kids as possible. I think at the end of the day, what they're going to remember, maybe you weren't a great dad, or you were a dork, or I don't know, they didn't think you were cool, whatever it might be, but they will remember that you were there. And then I would also say, I thought my kids would be into the things I was into. And what I realized is if you want to be a good dad, first you have to get them into something, whatever it is they take to, ceramics. My kids got really into Premier League football. I am not interested in sports, but now I go to Premier League football all the time. And I find games in different cities. I try and do one trip alone with each of them. And we go together. I'm leaning into what they're interested in, because you realize if you don't lean into what they're interested in, you're just not going to have that much overlap. I was asked to speak at my kid's school in front of his whole class, and he said he might not be comfortable with me doing that. He thinks it would be embarrassing. That was like a spear through my fucking heart. A chance to demonstrate what I do, and I'm good at it, in front of my son and his classmates. That was just so exciting for me, and he's decided I'm kind of embarrassing and he doesn't want me there. Literally like a spear through my fucking heart. But that's what we do. We take those spears. We add surplus value. We acknowledge we're not going to get as much back as we put in. And why do we do that? Because we're men, and that's what men do. That's all for this episode. If you'd like to submit a question, please email a voice recording to officehours@profgmedia.com. Again, that's officehours@profgmedia.com.